I was standing in the kitchen, holding what looked like just another piece of paper, when my entire world shifted on its axis. The lottery ticket trembled in my hands as I checked the numbers for the third time against the morning news broadcast. All 6 numbers matched perfectly. $50 million. My name is Jack Miller, and up until that Thursday morning in October, I was just another high school history teacher in Whitmore, Maine, making $55,000 a year and struggling to keep up with the mortgage payments on our modest colonial home. My wife Karen worked as a marketing manager at Holcomb Tech Solutions downtown, constantly stressed about money, always reminding me that her salary was keeping us afloat. "Daddy, what's wrong?" 5-year-old Michael looked up from his cereal bowl, his brown eyes wide with concern. "You look funny." I dropped to my knees and swept him into the biggest hug of his life. "Nothing's wrong, buddy. Everything's perfect. Daddy just got some really good news." "What kind of good news?" I laughed. Actually laughed out loud for the first time in months. "The kind that means Mommy won't have to work so hard anymore. The kind that means we can finally fix your swing set and maybe get that puppy you've been asking for." Michael's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? A puppy?" "Really." I hugged him again, my mind racing. Karen had left for work an hour earlier, stressed as usual about some presentation for her boss, Richard Holcomb. She'd barely kissed me goodbye, muttering something about quarterly reports and budget constraints. I thought about how relieved she'd be. No more late nights at the office, no more arguments about the credit card bills, no more of that look she got sometimes, like she was calculating whether she'd married the right man. "Michael, get your shoes on. We're going to see Mommy." At her work? At her work. I called my mother, explained that I had a surprise for Karen, and asked if she could watch Michael for a few minutes. Mom arrived within 20 minutes, took one look at my face, and knew something big was happening. "What's going on, Jack?" "I'll explain later, Mom. Just watch Michael for me. I'll be back in an hour." The drive to downtown Whitmore took 15 minutes, but it felt like 15 seconds. I kept the lottery ticket in my shirt pocket, checking it every few blocks to make sure it was real. $50 million. After taxes, it would still be enough to change everything. Karen could quit that job she hated. We could travel. We could give Michael everything. Holcomb Tech Solutions occupied the top 3 floors of the newest building in downtown Whitmore. I'd been there exactly twice before, once for Karen's company Christmas party, and once to pick her up when her car was in the shop. Richard Holcomb, the owner and Karen's boss, had struck me as the typical entitled rich guy who'd inherited his father's business and thought that made him a genius. I parked in the visitor section and took the elevator to the 8th floor. Karen's office was at the end of the hall, a corner suite that she'd earned through 7 years of 60-hour weeks and constant stress. I was practically bouncing as I walked down the corridor, imagining her reaction. The door to her office was slightly ajar. I heard her voice first, breathy and low, then a man's voice responding. I recognized Richard's deep baritone immediately. I stopped walking. "Oh, God, Richard!" Karen's voice was unmistakable, but I'd never heard her sound like that before. "You feel so good." Richard's voice, rough with desire. I stood frozen in the hallway as the sounds became clearer. Moaning. The unmistakable rhythm of intimacy. My wife was having intimacy with her boss in her office at 10:30 on a Thursday morning. "This is why I stay with you." Karen's voice between gasps. "What about your husband?" Richard asked. "He's poor," Karen replied without hesitation. "I'm only with him for stability. He's safe, you know, reliable." "And you're with me for?" "Money," Karen moaned. "And this. God, you're so much better than him." The lottery ticket crumpled in my fist. The world tilted sideways. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about my wife, about my life, collapsed in the space of 30 seconds. I quietly walked back to the elevator, my legs moving on autopilot. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, staring at the crumpled lottery ticket. $50 million. Karen didn't know I'd won. She thought she was married to a poor teacher who couldn't provide for her. She was sleeping with her boss for money while telling him how much better he was than her husband. A slow smile spread across my face. For the first time in my life, I held all the cards. When I got home, my mother took one look at my face and knew something had changed. "Jack, what happened? You look different? Dangerous." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Just learned something interesting about my wife, Mom. Could you stay with Michael for the rest of the day? I need to make some phone calls." She studied my face carefully. "Are you okay?" "I will be." After Mom left with Michael to go to the park, I sat in my kitchen and called the Maine State Lottery office. Yes, the ticket was legitimate. Yes, I had won $50 million. No, I didn't have to claim it immediately, but I should do so within 6 months. Yes, I could remain anonymous if I chose. I chose. Then I called my old college roommate Tommy Brennan, who now ran a private investigation service in Portland. Tommy, I need a favor, a big one. Jack? Jesus, I haven't heard from you in 2 years. What's going on? My wife is cheating on me with her boss. I need evidence, photographs, documentation, whatever you can get. Shit, man. I'm sorry. When do you want me to start? Yesterday. It'll cost you. Money's not a problem anymore. What's that supposed to mean? I'll explain later. How quickly can you get me something solid? If she's as sloppy as most cheaters, probably within a week. Maybe sooner. Do it. I spent the rest of the afternoon researching divorce law in Maine. Adultery was grounds for fault-based divorce. If I could prove Karen's affair, and if I filed before claiming the lottery winnings, there was a good chance the money would be considered separate property acquired after the breakdown of the marriage. I called a lawyer in Portland, someone Tommy recommended, made an appointment for the following day. Karen came home at 7, looking tired and slightly disheveled. She kissed my cheek absently. How was work? I asked, studying her face. Long day. Richard had me working on the Morrison account all afternoon. I bet he did? She looked at me sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. You just seem, I don't know, different lately. Different how? Happier, more energetic, like you're getting something you need. Karen's face flushed slightly. I'm just focused on work right now. This promotion is really important. Right. The promotion. I smiled. Richard must really appreciate your dedication. He does. She looked away. I'm going to take a shower. As she headed upstairs, I pulled out my phone and texted Tommy. She just confirmed she's been working with him all afternoon. Get me pictures. The next morning, I drove to Portland and met with a divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Walsh, who specialized in high-asset divorces. Mr. Miller, you said on the phone that you've recently come into some money. $50 million. Lottery winnings? Yesterday? Her eyebrows shot up. And you discovered your wife's affair when? The same day, before I claimed the winnings. That's fortuitous timing. I thought so. She leaned forward. If we can establish that the marriage was irretrievably broken due to her adultery before you claimed the prize, we can argue that the winnings are separate property. But we need to move fast, and we need solid evidence. I'm working on the evidence. How fast can we move? If you're serious about this, I can have papers drawn up by Monday. I'm serious. That weekend, Karen worked late both Saturday and Sunday. Big project, she explained. Richard really needs me right now. I'm sure he does, I thought. Tommy called Sunday night. Jack, I've got what you need, and brother, you're not going to like it. Show me. We met at a diner outside town. Tommy slid a manila envelope across the table. Your wife and her boss have been at this for at least 6 months, probably longer. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Look at these. The photographs were clear and damning. Karen entering Richard's house Friday night. Karen leaving Richard's house Saturday morning, wearing the same clothes, but looking thoroughly satisfied. Karen and Richard at an expensive restaurant across town, holding hands, kissing. There's more, Tommy said. I managed to get some audio from their lunch yesterday. You want to hear it? I nodded. Tommy pulled out a small recorder and pressed play. Richard's voice came through clearly. When are you going to leave him? Soon, Karen's voice replied. I just need to make sure I get half of everything. He's got a small inheritance from his father that he thinks I don't know about. How much? Maybe 20,000. It's not much, but it's something. Richard laughed. 20,000? Karen, I spend more than that on wine in a year. I know. That's why I need to be smart about this. Get what I can from Jack, then start fresh with you. What if he fights the divorce? He won't. He's too nice, too weak. He'll probably think it's his fault somehow. I turned off the recorder. That's enough. Jack, I'm sorry. Don't be. This is the best thing that could have happened to me. Tommy looked confused. How do you figure? I smiled. Because now I know exactly who I'm dealing with, and she has no idea what's coming. Monday morning, I called in sick to school. Instead, I drove to Portland and signed divorce papers. Patricia Walsh had worked over the weekend to prepare everything. The papers cite adultery and irreconcilable differences, she explained. We're asking for primary custody of your son, child support, and protection of your separate property, including any assets acquired after the breakdown of the marriage. What about the lottery ticket? As long as you claim it after we file these papers, and as long as we can prove the marriage was over due to her infidelity before you won, it should be protected. Should be? Nothing's guaranteed in family court, Mr. Miller, but we have a strong case. I filed the papers that afternoon. Karen would be served at her office the next day. That evening, I cooked Michael's favorite dinner, spaghetti and meatballs. Karen came home late again, claiming another emergency meeting. "Jack, we need to talk," she said after Michael went to bed. "About what?" "About us. About our marriage. I think we need to consider whether we're really happy." I almost laughed. She was going to beat me to it. "You think we should separate?" "Maybe, just temporarily, to figure things out." "Because you're not happy with me?" "It's not that simple." "Sure it is, Karen. You're not happy because I don't make enough money, because I can't give you the lifestyle you want." She looked surprised that I'd said it so directly. "Money isn't everything, Jack." "No, but it's something. And apparently it's enough to make you look elsewhere for what you need." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I know about Richard." The color drained from her face. "Jack, Save it. I know everything. The question is, what do we do now?" She sat down heavily. "How long have you known?" "Does it matter?" "I suppose not." She looked up at me. "What do you want?" "I want you to be honest with me, for once." "Okay. Yes, I've been seeing Richard, and yes, it's because he can give me things you can't." "Like what?" "Security. A future. The kind of life I want for Michael." "And what kind of life is that?" "A better one than this." She gestured around our modest kitchen. "I'm tired of worrying about money all the time. I'm tired of shopping at discount stores and driving a 10-year-old car. I want more." "And you think Richard can give you more?" "I know he can." I nodded slowly. "Well, Karen, I have some news for you." "What kind of news?" "The kind that changes everything." I pulled out the lottery ticket and placed it on the kitchen table. "I won this last Thursday, $50 million. Karen's eyes went wide. She reached for the ticket, but I pulled it back. "The same day I found out about your affair." "Jack, this changes everything. We don't have to—" "You're right. It changes everything. But not the way you think." "What do you mean?" "I mean you made your choice. You chose Richard. You chose money over marriage. You chose to betray your husband because you thought he was poor and weak." "But you're not poor anymore." "No, I'm not. But you are." Karen stared at me. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the divorce papers you'll be served with tomorrow. I'm talking about the photographs I have of you and Richard. I'm talking about the recordings of you planning to leave me for a richer man." "You can't do this. That money is marital property." "Actually, it's not. I won it after our marriage was irretrievably broken, after you committed adultery. My lawyer thinks I have an excellent chance of keeping every penny." Karen's face went through several emotions: shock, anger, calculation, and finally, desperation. "Jack, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake. I'll end things with Richard. We can start over." "With $50 million? "Money doesn't have to change us." I laughed. "Money already did change us, Karen. It changed you into someone who would cheat on her husband for a better lifestyle, and it changed me into someone who won't be taken advantage of anymore." "What about Michael? What about him? He needs his mother. He needs a mother who won't teach him that marriage vows are negotiable based on bank account balances." Karen stood up, her face hardening. "You can't keep me from my son." "I'm not keeping you from him. I'm keeping you from using him as leverage to get money you don't deserve." "This isn't over, Jack." "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." She stormed upstairs and started packing. Within an hour, she was gone. I called Tommy. "Phase 1 complete." She took the bait. "What's Phase 2? "Now we see how far she'll go to get her hands on that money." The divorce papers were served to Karen at her office Tuesday morning. According to Tommy, who had a contact in the building, she screamed loud enough for half the floor to hear her. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone was ringing. "Jack, it's Chloe, Karen's best friend since college, a gossipy wine mom who'd never liked me much." "What the hell is going on?" "Hello, Chloe. I'm fine, thanks for asking." "Don't be cute with me. Karen is devastated. She says you're trying to steal her child and keep money that belongs to both of you." "Is that what she told you?" "She told me you won the lottery and now you think you can throw away 7 years of marriage." "Did she tell you about Richard?" Silence. "I'll take that as a yes." "Jack, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone cheats on their spouse with their boss for money? It's not that simple." "Sure it is, Chloe. It's exactly that simple. Karen decided I wasn't good enough for her, so she found someone richer. Now she's upset because the poor husband she was planning to divorce turned out to have money after all. She loves you. She loves the idea of $50 million. That's not fair. You know what's not fair, Chloe? Having your wife tell her lover that she's only staying married for stability while she figures out how to take half of everything in a divorce. Another silence. You recorded them? I have evidence of everything, Chloe. Everything. Jack, please, she's my best friend. Can't you work this out? She had a chance to work it out. She chose Richard instead. What if she ends it with him? Then she can explain that to her divorce lawyer. I hung up. Wednesday morning, I got a call from Karen's brother, Mike. We'd been friends before I married his sister, drinking buddies who watched football together and complained about our jobs. That friendship had cooled over the years, mostly because Mike thought Karen was too good for me. Jack, what are you doing? Good morning, Mike. Don't good morning me. Karen is family. You don't destroy family over money. I'm not destroying anything over money. I'm protecting myself and my son from someone who is planning to destroy me for money. She made a mistake. She made a choice? Same thing. No, it's not. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A choice is deciding to sleep with your boss because your husband doesn't make enough money. You're being vindictive. I'm being smart. What happened to you, man? You used to be a decent guy. I used to be a naive guy. There's a difference. So that's it? 7 years of marriage down the drain because of one affair? Mike, your sister told her lover that she was only staying married to me for stability while she figured out how to take half my assets in a divorce. She was planning to leave me anyway. I just beat her to it. That's not what she says. Of course it's not. What does she say? She says you've changed, that the money went to your head, that you're not the man she married. She's right. The man she married was a sucker who would have let her walk all over him for the rest of his life. The man she's divorcing is someone who knows what he's worth. And what about Michael? What about him? He needs both parents. He needs parents who respect each other and their marriage vows. He doesn't need to grow up thinking it's okay to cheat on your spouse when someone richer comes along. Mike was quiet for a moment. Jack, I've known you for 10 years. This isn't you. You're wrong, Mike. This is exactly me. This is who I am when I'm not being taken advantage of. If you go through with this, you'll lose more than your wife. You'll lose all of us. All of who? Karen's family, our friends, everyone who matters. Anyone who thinks I should stay married to a cheater doesn't matter to me. What about Tom and Jennifer? What about the Sullivans? What about everyone from our circle? I thought about our group of couple friends, the people we'd been socializing with for years. Tom and Jennifer Walsh, who we met through Karen's work. The Sullivans, who lived 3 houses down from us. The Hendersons, who we'd been having dinner parties with since Michael was born. What about them? They're all on Karen's side, Jack. They think you're being unreasonable. Based on what? Based on what Karen told them. Which was? That you found out about one mistake and decided to destroy her life over it. One mistake? That's what she's calling it. I laughed. Mike, your sister has been sleeping with her boss for at least 6 months. She was planning to divorce me anyway. She told Richard I was poor and weak, and that she was only staying with me until she could figure out how to get half my assets. That's not one mistake. That's a calculated betrayal. Do you have proof of all that? Every word. Then why haven't you shown it to anyone? Because I don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting myself and my son. You owe your friends an explanation. My friends would ask for my side of the story before taking sides. Mike was quiet again. Jack, I'm trying to help you here. No, you're trying to help Karen. There's a difference. She's my sister. And I was your friend, was being the operative phrase. It doesn't have to be this way. You're right, it didn't have to be this way. Karen chose to make it this way. I hung up. Thursday evening, Tom Walsh called. Tom and I had been friends for 5 years, ever since he and Jennifer moved to Whitmore. We'd helped each other with home improvement projects, coached our kids' little league teams together, spent countless evenings grilling in each other's backyards. Jack, we need to talk. About what? About what you're doing to Karen. What am I doing to Karen? Come on, man, the whole town is talking about it. You win the lottery and immediately file for divorce? That's cold, even for you. Even for me. You know what I mean. No, Tom, I don't. What do you mean? Look, we all know you and Karen have had problems. Money problems, communication problems. But divorce? Over one indiscretion? One indiscretion? Jennifer talked to Karen. She explained what happened. It was a moment of weakness. It didn't mean anything. Tom, did Karen tell Jennifer that she's been sleeping with Richard for months? She said it happened a few times. Did she mention that she told Richard she was only staying married to me for stability? Jack, people say things in the heat of the moment. Did she mention that she was planning to divorce me anyway as soon as she figured out how to get half my assets? Tom was quiet. I have recordings, Tom. I have photographs. I have evidence of everything. Why didn't you try to work it out? Work what out? She made her choice. She chose money over marriage. She chose Richard over me. The only thing that changed is that I'm not as poor as she thought. So you're going to take everything? Leave her with nothing? I'm going to protect what's mine and make sure my son grows up with a father who respects himself. What about forgiveness? What about consequences? Jack, this isn't you. You're a good guy. You don't destroy people. I'm not destroying anyone. I'm protecting myself from someone who is planning to destroy me. If you go through with this, it's going to change everything. Our whole group, all our friendships. It's going to split everyone apart. Then maybe everyone needs to decide what kind of people they want to be friends with. What's that supposed to mean? It means anyone who thinks I should stay married to a cheater isn't really my friend anyway. That's not fair. Fair? Tom, my wife was planning to divorce me and take half my assets while she was sleeping with her boss. She was telling her lover that I was poor and weak and that she was only staying with me until she could figure out how to screw me over. And you think I'm being unfair for protecting myself? She made a mistake. She made a choice. And now I'm making mine. Jack, please, think about what you're doing. Think about Michael. Think about all the relationships you're going to destroy. I am thinking about Michael. I'm thinking about what kind of man I want him to grow up to be, and I'm thinking about what kind of relationships are worth preserving. And any relationship that requires me to let people walk all over me isn't worth preserving. Tom sighed. I'm sorry it's come to this. So am I. For what it's worth, I hope you know what you're doing. I do. But after I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, thinking about what Tom had said. Our whole circle of friends was choosing sides, and they were choosing Karen. The woman who had cheated on her husband was getting sympathy, while the husband who was protecting himself was being painted as the villain. I pulled out my phone and called Tommy. How's the evidence gathering going? Good, really good. Your wife and her boss aren't even trying to hide it anymore. I think they figure the cat's out of the bag, so why be discreet? What do you mean? I mean, they're acting like a couple in public. Restaurants, movies, shopping. They're not hiding anymore. Perfect. Jack, are you sure you want to go nuclear on this? What do you mean? I mean, once you release this evidence, there's no going back. Everyone will know everything. Your wife, her boss, all your friends who are taking her side. It's going to be ugly. I thought about Tom's warning, about Mike's threat, about Chloe's disappointment. Tommy, how long have we known each other? 15 years. In all that time, have you ever known me to start a fight? Never. But have you ever known me to back down from one? Never. Then you know what my answer is. Nuclear it is. Friday morning, I made a decision. If my friends wanted to choose sides based on incomplete information, they were going to get complete information. I called Patricia Walsh. I want to hold a press conference. A what? I want to go public with everything. The lottery win, the divorce, the evidence of the affair, all of it. Mr. Miller, I strongly advise against that. It could complicate your case. How? Judges don't like publicity in family court cases. It could work against you. What if I'm not trying to influence the judge? What if I'm trying to influence public opinion? Why would you want to do that? Because my wife has been telling everyone that I'm the villain in this story. I want them to know the truth. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Jack, what aren't you telling me? What do you mean? I mean, most people going through a divorce want privacy, not publicity. Why do you want everyone to know your business? I thought about how to explain it. Because I'm tired of being the good guy who gets screwed over while everyone feels sorry for the person who screwed him over. And you think going public will change that? I think going public will make it impossible for anyone to claim they didn't know the truth. All right, but if we do this, we do it right. No emotional outbursts, no personal attacks, just facts. Just facts. I called the local newspaper and the 2 television stations that covered our area. I told them I had a story about lottery winnings, adultery, and divorce that would interest their viewers. The press conference was scheduled for Monday morning at the town hall. Over the weekend, I prepared. I organized all of Tommy's photographs and recordings. I printed out copies of text messages and emails that Karen had left on our shared computer. I prepared a timeline of events that showed exactly when I'd won the lottery and exactly when I'd discovered the affair. Sunday evening, Karen called. Jack, I heard you're planning some kind of press conference. News travels fast. Are you insane? You're going to humiliate me in front of the entire town? I'm going to tell the truth in front of the entire town. Please don't do this. Think about Michael. I am thinking about Michael. I'm thinking about what he'll think of his father when he's old enough to understand what happened here. He'll think his father destroyed his mother for money. He'll think his father stood up for himself when his mother tried to destroy him for money. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened, Karen, and tomorrow everyone will know it. Jack, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll sign whatever papers you want. I'll agree to any custody arrangement. Just don't do this. Why? Because it will ruin my life. Like you were planning to ruin mine. That's different. How? Because I wasn't going to humiliate you publicly. No, you were just going to lie to everyone about why our marriage ended while you took half my assets. I made a mistake. You made a choice, and I'm making mine. Monday morning, the town hall was packed. Local reporters, curious townspeople, and most of our circle of friends filled the small auditorium. Karen sat in the back with Richard, both of them looking like they were facing a firing squad. I stood at the podium and looked out at the crowd. Tom and Jennifer were there, along with the Sullivans and the Hendersons. Mike sat with Karen's parents. Chloe was in the front row, glaring at me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. My name is Jack Miller, and I want to tell you a story about marriage, money, and the choices we make when we think nobody is watching. I started with the lottery win. I showed them the ticket, explained when I'd bought it, and when I'd discovered I'd won. I described my joy at the thought of relieving my wife's financial stress. Then I told them about going to her office to surprise her. What I found instead was my wife having intimacy with her boss while explaining to him that she was only staying married to me for stability until she could figure out how to get half my assets in a divorce. The room was dead silent. I played the recording of Karen and Richard at lunch, discussing when she would leave me and how much money she could get. I showed photographs of them together at restaurants and hotels. I read text messages where Karen complained about being married to a poor teacher while planning her future with a real man who could provide for her. I want to be clear about the timeline here, I said. I won this lottery on a Thursday morning. I discovered my wife's affair that same Thursday afternoon. I filed for divorce the following Monday. My wife has been telling people that I won money and decided to leave her. The truth is that she had already decided to leave me. She just didn't know I'd won money when she made that decision. I looked directly at Tom and Jennifer. Some of our friends have suggested that I should forgive my wife's mistake and work things out. I want those friends to understand that this wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated plan to use me for stability while she prepared to leave me for someone richer. I turned to Karen's family. Others have suggested that I'm being vindictive, that I'm trying to destroy my wife over money. I want them to understand that I'm not destroying anyone. I'm protecting myself and my son from someone who was planning to destroy me. Finally, I looked at Karen herself. My wife has told people that money changed me, that I'm not the man she married. She's right. The man she married would have let her get away with this. The man standing here today won't. I stepped back from the podium. I'm happy to answer any questions. The first question came from a reporter. Mr. Miller, what do you hope to accomplish with this press conference? I want people to know the truth. My wife has been painting herself as the victim in this story. I want everyone to understand who the real victim is. What about your son? How will this affect him? My son will grow up knowing that his father stood up for himself when someone tried to take advantage of him. He'll learn that marriage vows mean something and that there are consequences for breaking them. Tom Walsh stood up. Jack, don't you think this is extreme? Couldn't you have handled this privately? I looked at my former friend. Tom, you called me last week and told me that our entire circle of friends thought I was being unreasonable. You said that if I went through with the divorce, it would destroy all our relationships. I decided that if I'm going to lose those relationships anyway, people should at least know why. Jennifer Walsh spoke up. But what about forgiveness? What about working things out? Jennifer, would you stay married to Tom if you found out he was cheating on you with his boss while planning to divorce you and take half your money? She didn't answer. Mike stood up. Jack, this is my sister you're talking about. Mike, this is my wife I'm talking about. Your sister made her choice. Now everyone gets to see what that choice was. Chloe was practically vibrating with anger. You're a monster, Jack Miller. Karen made one mistake, and you're trying to ruin her entire life. I pulled out my phone and played another recording. Chloe's voice came through the speakers clearly. Karen, you need to get as much as you can from him before he figures out what's happening. Take him for everything he's worth. The room gasped. Chloe's face went white. One mistake, Chloe? Richard Holcomb stood up. This is harassment. You're violating our privacy. Richard, you violated my marriage. I think that's a little more serious than violating your privacy. You can't prove that Karen was planning to divorce you. I played another recording. Karen's voice filled the room. I just need to be patient, get everything I can from Jack, then start fresh with you. He's too weak to fight back. Richard sat down. Karen finally stood up, tears streaming down her face. Jack, please, you've made your point. Can we stop this now? Have I made my point, Karen? Do you think everyone understands now why our marriage is over? She nodded, sobbing. Good. Then we're done here. As the crowd filed out, I noticed something interesting. Tom and Jennifer left without speaking to me, but they also left without speaking to Karen. The Sullivans and Hendersons did the same. Mike looked disgusted, but I couldn't tell if he was disgusted with me or with his sister. Chloe stormed out, but not before hissing, I hope you're happy. I'm getting there, I replied. Tommy met me in the parking lot. Well, that was something. How do you think it went? I think you just nuked every bridge in your life. Maybe, or maybe I just found out which bridges were worth keeping. What's next? Next, we wait and see what Karen does. What do you mean? I mean, she's got nothing left to lose now. Everyone knows the truth. Her reputation is destroyed, her relationship with Richard is probably over, and her friends have abandoned her. Desperate people do desperate things. You think she'll try something? I think we should be ready for anything. I was right to be cautious. Tuesday morning, I found my car tires slashed. Tuesday afternoon, someone threw a brick through my front window. Tuesday evening, Karen called and left a voicemail that was equal parts threatening and pleading. Jack, you've destroyed my life. I hope you're satisfied, but this isn't over. You think you can humiliate me and walk away? You think you can turn everyone against me and there won't be consequences? You're wrong. I'm going to make you pay for this. I saved the voicemail and called Patricia Walsh. She's threatening you? It sounds like it. I'll file for a restraining order. Do it. Wednesday morning, the restraining order was served. Wednesday afternoon, Karen violated it by showing up at Michael's school. The principal called me at work. Mr. Miller, your wife is here demanding to see Michael. She seems agitated. I'll be right there. I called Tommy on the way. Meet me at Michael's school. Karen's there, and she's not supposed to be. When I arrived, I found Karen in the principal's office, arguing with the school secretary about her rights as a mother. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, red eyes from crying or drinking or both. Karen, she spun around. Jack, tell them I have a right to see my son. You have a restraining order against you. That's just a piece of paper. It's a court order. I don't care. I want to see Michael. The principal, Mrs. Henderson, looked uncomfortable. Mr. Miller, perhaps we should call the police. That won't be necessary, I said. Karen, you need to leave. I'm not leaving without my son. Yes, you are. You can't keep me from him forever. I'm not keeping you from him. The court is keeping you from him until you can prove you're stable enough to be around him. I'm his mother. You're also someone who just threatened his father and violated a restraining order. Tommy appeared in the doorway. Everything okay here? Karen looked at him with pure hatred. You're the one who took those pictures. You destroyed my marriage. Lady, your marriage was destroyed before I ever showed up. I want you both to pay for what you've done to me. I stepped closer to Karen. What we've done to you? Karen, we didn't make you cheat on your husband. We didn't make you plan to divorce him for money. We didn't make you lie to everyone about what happened. We just made sure people knew the truth. The truth? You want to talk about truth? Here's the truth. You're a pathetic little man who couldn't satisfy his wife. So when she found someone who could, you decided to destroy her life. Is that what you think happened? That's what I know happened. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Karen, are you saying that you cheated on me because I couldn't satisfy you? Yes. And you're saying that you plan to divorce me because you found someone better? Yes. And you're saying that I'm pathetic for protecting myself and my son from someone who is planning to betray us? Yes. I stopped recording. Thank you. My lawyer will be very interested in this. Karen's face went white as she realized what she'd just done. You recorded me. I did. You can't use that in court. Actually, Maine is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of. You bastard. Karen, you need to leave now. If you don't, I'm calling the police. She looked around the room, at me, at Tommy, at the principal and secretary who were witnessing her meltdown. For a moment, I thought she might try to fight. Then her shoulders sagged. This isn't over, Jack. Yes, it is. She left. Mrs. Henderson looked shaken. Mr. Miller, I think we should implement additional security measures for Michael. I agree. That evening, I sat Michael down for a conversation I'd been dreading. Daddy, why can't I see Mommy? Because Mommy is going through a difficult time right now, and the court thinks it's better if she gets some help before she spends time with you. Is she sick? In a way, yes. Will she get better? I hope so, buddy. I really hope so. Do you still love Mommy? I thought about how to answer that. I love the person Mommy used to be, but people change sometimes, and not always for the better. Did Mommy change? Yes. Did you change? Yes. Are you better or worse? I smiled. I think I'm better. I think I'm stronger and smarter and more honest than I used to be. That's good. I think so too. That night, after Michael was asleep, I sat in my kitchen with a glass of wine and thought about everything that had happened. 2 weeks ago, I'd been a struggling teacher with a cheating wife and a pile of bills. Tonight, I was a millionaire with a son who was safe from his mother's manipulation and a clear conscience about the choices I'd made. My phone rang. It was Tom Walsh. It was Tom. Jack, I owe you an apology. For what? For not asking for your side of the story before I took sides. And for assuming that you were the problem in your marriage. What changed your mind? Jennifer and I had a long talk after your press conference. We realized that if someone had evidence of me cheating and planning to divorce her, she'd want to know about it, and she'd want our friends to know the truth too. I appreciate that, Tom. Are we okay? We're okay. What about the others, the Sullivans and the Hendersons? What about them? They feel pretty stupid right now. They all took Karen's side without knowing the facts. That was their choice. They'd like a chance to make it right. Tom, I'm not interested in being friends with people who have to be convinced that cheating on your spouse is wrong. That's not what this is about. Isn't it? You all heard that I was divorcing my wife, and your first instinct was to assume I was being unreasonable. None of you asked what she had done. None of you considered that maybe, just maybe, I had good reasons for my actions. Tom was quiet. I'm not angry, I continued, but I'm not interested in pretending that nothing happened either. I understand. Do you? I think so. You learned something about your wife, and you learned something about your friends, and you didn't like either lesson. That's exactly right. For what it's worth, I think you handled this better than most people would have. How so? You could have just taken the money and disappeared. You could have let Karen keep lying about what happened. Instead, you made sure everyone knew the truth. I'm tired of being the good guy who gets screwed over, Tom. I don't think anyone will make that mistake again. After I hung up, I realized Tom was right. I had learned something about my friends, and it wasn't entirely bad. Some of them, like Tom, were willing to admit when they were wrong and try to make things right. Others would probably never speak to me again. I was okay with that. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. You think you've won, but this isn't over. You'll pay for what you've done to me. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Patricia Walsh and Tommy. Then I poured myself another glass of wine and smiled. Karen was right about one thing. I had won. But she was wrong about everything else. This was over. I'd made sure of that. And the only person who was going to pay for what had been done was the person who had chosen to do it in the first place. The threatening text messages continued for 3 days. Each one was more desperate and angry than the last. Patricia Walsh advised me to document everything and avoid any contact with Karen. She's spiraling, Patricia explained during a phone call Thursday morning. The press conference destroyed any chance she had of painting herself as the victim. Her friends have abandoned her, her family is embarrassed, and her relationship with Richard is probably over. Probably? I heard through the legal community that Richard's wife filed for divorce yesterday. She's asking for everything: the house, the business, the cars. Apparently she'd been building a case against him for months. Smart woman? Very smart, and very prepared. Richard is about to lose everything, which means he's no longer the meal ticket Karen thought he was. So what's her next move? Desperation. She's going to try one last play to get some of that lottery money. Patricia was right. Friday afternoon, Karen's lawyer called mine. My client is willing to settle, he told Patricia. What does she want? Half the lottery winnings, joint custody of the child, and no admission of wrongdoing. Patricia called me immediately. Jack, they want to settle. For how much? $25 million. I laughed. Tell them no. Don't you want to hear their reasoning? Not particularly. They're claiming that the lottery ticket was purchased with marital funds, which makes it marital property regardless of when it was claimed. Is that true? It's an argument. Not a very good one, given the evidence of her adultery and intent to divorce, but it's an argument. What do you think our chances are in court? Excellent. The timeline is clear, the evidence is overwhelming, and the judge isn't going to be sympathetic to someone who is planning to commit adultery and divorce fraud. Then we go to court. Jack, are you sure? Even a bad settlement would give you $35 million and guaranteed custody. Going to court is always a risk. Patricia, if I settle with her, what lesson does that teach my son? What do you mean? I mean, if I give his mother $25 million after she cheated on me and tried to destroy our family, what does that tell him about consequences? What does that tell him about standing up for yourself? I understand your point. Besides, I don't think Karen wants to go to court. Why not? Because in court, all of this becomes public record. Every recording, every photograph, every detail of her affair gets entered into evidence. The press conference was embarrassing. A trial would be devastating. You think she's bluffing? I think she's desperate. I was right. Monday morning, Karen's lawyer called back with a new offer. $10 million, supervised visitation with Michael, and a non-disclosure agreement that would prevent either party from discussing the case publicly. Still no, I told Patricia. Jack, $10 million is a lot of money to walk away from. I'm not walking away from anything. I'm walking towards something. Which is? Complete victory. Tuesday, the offer dropped to $5 million. Wednesday, it was $2 million. Thursday, Karen's lawyer called to say his client was withdrawing all settlement offers and would see us in court. Perfect, I told Patricia. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying watching someone face consequences for their actions. That doesn't happen often enough in this world. The trial was scheduled for the following month. In the meantime, I had a life to rebuild. I submitted my resignation from the high school effective at the end of the school year. With $50 million in the bank, I didn't need to work, but I wanted to do something meaningful with my time and money. I started a foundation focused on financial literacy education for young adults. The idea was to teach people how to manage money, plan for the future, and avoid the kind of financial stress that had contributed to the breakdown of my marriage. I also bought a new house. Nothing ostentatious, just a comfortable 4-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood with excellent schools. Michael loved having his own playroom and a backyard big enough for the golden retriever puppy we brought home the day after we moved in. What should we name him? Michael asked, watching the puppy chase his tail in our new kitchen. What do you think? Lucky. Lucky it is. The trial began on a rainy Monday morning in early December. The courthouse was packed with reporters and curious townspeople. Karen sat at the defendant's table looking pale and thin, wearing a conservative blue suit that couldn't hide the fact that she'd lost at least 20 pounds since our separation. Patricia's opening statement was masterful. She laid out the timeline clearly. The lottery win, the discovery of the affair, the evidence of Karen's plan to divorce me for money. She played recordings, showed photographs, and read text messages that painted a picture of a woman who had systematically betrayed her husband while planning to rob him blind. Karen's lawyer tried to argue that the affair was irrelevant, that the lottery ticket was purchased with marital funds and therefore belonged to both parties. He painted Karen as a woman who had made a mistake in a moment of weakness and was now being punished disproportionately by a vindictive husband. The problem with his argument was the evidence. When Patricia played the recording of Karen telling Richard that she was only staying married to me for stability while she figured out how to get half my assets, the judge's expression hardened. When she showed photographs of Karen and Richard together at romantic dinners while Karen was supposedly working late, the judge took notes. When she presented text messages where Karen called me pathetic and weak while planning her future with a real man, the judge shook his head. Karen took the stand on Wednesday. Her lawyer had obviously coached her to appear remorseful and sympathetic. I made a terrible mistake, she testified, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I was stressed about money, feeling neglected in my marriage, and I made a poor decision. I never meant for it to go as far as it did. Patricia's cross-examination was brutal. Mrs. Miller, when you told Mr. Holcomb that you were only staying married to your husband for stability, was that a poor decision or a calculated statement? I was emotional. I said things I didn't mean. Were you emotional for the 6 months that you were having an affair with Mr. Holcomb? It wasn't 6 months. How long was it? I don't remember exactly. Patricia played a recording of Karen telling Chloe that she'd been seeing Richard for months, and that it was the best thing that ever happened to her. Does that refresh your memory, Mrs. Miller? Karen's face crumpled. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. You didn't know what you wanted, or you wanted what you couldn't have with your husband? I don't understand the question. Let me be more specific. You told Mr. Holcomb that he could give you things your husband couldn't. What things were you referring to? I don't remember saying that. Patricia played another recording. Mrs. Miller, in this recording, you clearly state that Mr. Holcomb can provide you with security and a better future than your husband. Were you lying to Mr. Holcomb, or were you being honest about your feelings toward your marriage? Karen looked at her lawyer desperately. I was confused about my feelings. Were you confused when you told Mr. Holcomb that your husband was poor and weak? I was angry. Were you angry for 6 months? No. Then why did you continue the affair for 6 months? Karen couldn't answer. Mrs. Miller, were you planning to divorce your husband before he discovered your affair? No. Are you sure about that? Yes. Patricia played the recording of Karen and Richard discussing when she would leave me and how much money she could get in a divorce. Mrs. Miller, in this recording, you and Mr. Holcomb are clearly discussing your plans to divorce your husband and take half his assets. How do you explain that? Karen broke down completely. I don't know. I was confused. I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing. You didn't know you were planning to destroy your marriage for money? Objection, Karen's lawyer called out. Sustained, the judge replied, but the damage was done. The trial lasted 5 days. The judge deliberated for 2 hours. In the matter of Miller versus Miller, he announced, I find that the defendant engaged in a pattern of adultery and deception that constituted a fundamental breach of the marriage contract. I further find that the defendant was planning to end the marriage regardless of the plaintiff's lottery winnings, and that said winnings, therefore, constitute separate property acquired after the breakdown of the marriage. He awarded me full custody of Michael, with Karen receiving supervised visitation every other weekend. He awarded me all marital assets, including the lottery winnings. He ordered Karen to pay court costs and attorney fees. Furthermore, the judge continued, I find the defendant's conduct in this matter to be particularly egregious. Her attempt to portray herself as the victim while simultaneously planning to defraud her husband demonstrates a level of deception that this court cannot ignore. Karen sobbed as the verdict was read. Her lawyer put his arm around her shoulders, but she shrugged him off and ran from the courtroom. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me. Mr. Miller, how do you feel about the verdict? I feel vindicated. The truth has been told, and justice has been served. What's next for you and your son? We're going to build a new life together, a life based on honesty, respect, and genuine love. Do you have any regrets about how this played out? I regret that my son had to see his mother's true character exposed so publicly, but I don't regret protecting him from someone who was willing to destroy our family for money. What would you say to your ex-wife if she were here? I thought about that question for a moment. I'd say that actions have consequences. I'd say that you can't betray someone and then expect them to protect you from the results of that betrayal, and I'd say that I hope she learns from this experience and becomes a better person. That evening, Michael and I celebrated with pizza and ice cream in our new house. Lucky the golden retriever slept at Michael's feet while we watched cartoons on our new big screen TV. Daddy, are you happy now? Yes, buddy, I'm very happy. Are we going to be okay? We're going to be better than okay. We're going to be great. What about Mommy? Mommy is going to have to figure out how to be okay on her own. Do you think she will? I hope so. For your sake, I hope so. 6 months later, I heard through Tommy that Karen had moved to Florida with her parents. She'd taken a job as a receptionist at a medical office and was living in a one-bedroom apartment. Richard had lost everything in his divorce and was working as a sales manager at a car dealership. Chloe had been arrested for drunk driving and lost her job at the marketing firm where she'd worked with Karen. The Sullivans had moved away after Mr. Sullivan was caught embezzling money from his employer. The Hendersons were getting divorced. It seemed like everyone who had been part of Karen's circle of enablers was facing consequences for their choices. Tom and Jennifer Walsh, on the other hand, had become good friends again. They'd learned from what happened with Karen and me, and their own marriage was stronger because of it. You know what I learned from all this? Tom asked me one evening as we grilled burgers in my backyard while our kids played with Lucky. What's that? I learned that being a good friend means asking hard questions, not just taking sides. That's a good lesson. I also learned that you can't save people from the consequences of their own choices. Another good lesson. But the biggest thing I learned is that you're a lot stronger than I ever gave you credit for. I smiled. I'm a lot stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. A year after the trial, Michael and I were doing great. He was thriving in his new school, had made new friends, and seemed genuinely happy. He saw Karen every other weekend under court supervision, and while those visits were sometimes difficult, he was learning to understand that people make choices, and those choices have consequences. I'd expanded my foundation and was speaking at high schools about financial literacy and personal responsibility. The work was rewarding, and it felt good to help young people avoid the mistakes that had destroyed my marriage. I'd also started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I was ready to find someone who understood that marriage was a partnership based on mutual respect and shared values, not a financial transaction. One evening, as I was tucking Michael into bed, he asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Daddy, do you think Mommy is sorry for what she did?" "I think she's sorry she got caught." "That's not the same thing, is it?" "No, buddy, it's not the same thing at all." "Do you think she'll ever be really sorry?" "I don't know. I hope so, but I can't control what she thinks or feels. I can only control what I think and feel." "What do you feel about Mommy now?" I thought about that question carefully. I feel sad for her. I feel sad that she made choices that hurt so many people, but I don't feel angry anymore. Why not? Because anger is like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. Eventually, you have to put it down so you can move forward. Did you put it down? I did. Good. I don't like it when you're sad or angry. I'm not sad or angry anymore, Michael. I'm grateful. For what? For you, for our new life, for learning who I really am when someone tries to take advantage of me. Who are you? I'm someone who doesn't back down from a fight he didn't start. I'm someone who protects the people he loves. And I'm someone who believes that good things happen to people who tell the truth and do the right thing, even when it's hard. That's a good person to be. I think so too. 2 years after the divorce was finalized, I received a letter from Karen. She was engaged to a man she'd met in Florida, a construction worker who made about what I'd made as a teacher. She was pregnant with his child. "I wanted you to know that I'm trying to build a better life," she wrote. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know that I understand now how badly I hurt you and Michael. I hope someday you can forgive me, not for my sake, but for Michael's." I showed the letter to Michael, who was now 8 and old enough to understand most of what had happened between his parents. "What do you think?" I asked him. "I think she's trying to be better." "Do you think we should forgive her?" "I think we should try, but that doesn't mean we have to forget what she did." "That's very wise." "Daddy, are you going to write her back?" "What do you think I should say?" "Tell her that we hope she's happy, but that we're happy too. Tell her that we forgive her, but that we're not the same people we were before." I wrote the letter that night. It was short and to the point. "Karen, I'm glad you're trying to build a better life. Michael and I forgive you for what happened, but we've both learned from it and grown stronger because of it. I hope your new family brings you the happiness you were looking for. We've found our happiness too." I never heard from her again. 5 years after winning the lottery, Michael and I were living our best life. He was 11, playing Little League baseball and getting straight A's in school. I had married a wonderful woman named Sarah, a teacher at Michael's school who understood both the value of money and the importance of character. We were planning to adopt a baby girl from China, and Michael was excited about becoming a big brother. "Daddy," he said one evening as we were playing catch in the backyard, "do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't won the lottery?" "Sometimes. Why?" "Do you think you and Mommy would still be married?" "No, buddy. I think she would have left me anyway, just like she was planning to do." "But you wouldn't have known the truth about why she left." "That's right. I would have spent the rest of my life thinking it was my fault." So winning the lottery was a good thing, even though it caused all that trouble? I thought about that question. Michael, winning the lottery didn't cause the trouble. It revealed the trouble that was already there. There's a big difference. Like when you turn on a light in a dark room and see all the mess that was already there? Exactly like that. So the lottery was like turning on the light? The lottery was like turning on the light. I'm glad you turned on the light, Daddy. So am I, buddy. So am I. That night, after Michael was asleep, I sat in my study and looked at the framed lottery ticket on my wall. Not because I was proud of the money, but because I was proud of what I'd done with the opportunity it had given me. I'd learned who I really was when everything was on the line. I'd protected my son from someone who would have taught him that betrayal was acceptable if the price was right. I'd stood up for myself when everyone else thought I should just take the abuse and move on. Most importantly, I'd proven that good people don't always finish last. Sometimes, if they're smart and strong and willing to fight for what's right, they finish first. The lottery ticket was worth $50 million. But the lessons I'd learned from winning it were priceless. I'd won the jackpot in more ways than one.